The right window treatments change everything. Your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 five-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off with minimum purchase, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Eagles Only mock draft episode of the Kelly Green Hour, as we are 16 days away from the NFL draft. Before you know it, it'll be here. The Eagles also open up, I think, they open up like a voluntary camp in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So we're about to get into this fast and furious. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, what's going on, man?
Oh, just taking in I don't think this is the time of year where we need the draft. Like, this is where everything's taken off. People are starting to shoot down the value of certain players and all the rumors. Everybody's talking. We need the draft so badly to just happen tomorrow so we can get past this, because I get excited at the start when draft season starts and the combine happens. And then right around here is where we hit the lull where we just really need the draft. And so that's where I feel we've reached. But I mean, it gets the attention off of the Eagles a little bit.
Really? The Eagles bring in all the talking, or, bring in all the ratings, it seems, for all these shows on ESPN, NFL Network, and, wherever. And before we jump into things, as always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJ Harrell54. And follow Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts, at Eagles Pinpool Network. And as always, if you're joining us live, let us know your thoughts on our picks. We were talking before we came on. This is going to be, I have no idea where anybody's going to go in this draft. It's not a great draft, I would say. Who knows? Usually when Connor and I do this, we may have one or two that are similar. I wouldn't be surprised if we have none that are similar of the 9 picks that the Eagles have. Our stipulation is we don't do trades. We get it. We know how we will trade, because that's what he does. He's a king at trading. So we avoid that in our mock draft. Again, the Eagles have 9 picks, 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth. I won't lie, when I was doing my mock draft, the site that I was using, they gave me some really intriguing trades that I probably would have accepted, but I didn't. Connor, you want to kind of go through your process before we jump into it? How many you did and how you go about, putting together your Eagles only mock draft?
So for my process, I always like to do 3 different mock drafts, and obviously I look at the obvious needs and the glaring needs, and without trades, it makes things really challenging. But we don't do trades just for fairness of having the mock draft in front of you, and anyone who actually is able to predict a trade is probably that would be really impressive. What exact trade Howie Roseman pulls off. I guess I will note AJ Brown is not getting traded before or on draft night. Any draft night. So I'm gonna make sure that might be my hot take. So yeah, usually I do 3 mock drafts, and then I kind of take a look at them and align on pulling one big one together out of the 3 that I like the most. And that's a process that I take, because I do some throughout the off season, but I don't go to the extent of, like, some people are in their mock draft like 24.0. Now, I don't tend to do that many mock drafts like some people, but I like to get closer to the finish line and the actual draft day to do it, because then you have more insight into the top 30 visits. You have more insight into the direction that Howie Roseman seems to be guiding things based on the visits and stuff. So we always like to do, late, as close as we can get to the draft. So that's more of the process that I kind of use.
Yeah, I'm sort of similar. I mean, if I get bored, I might go quickly and do a mock draft. Other than that, I don't, like you said, I'm not going to do 100 versions. I think yesterday I might have did like 3 or 4. And then when I got home from work today, I did my last one, which is the one that I'm going to be putting forth in this in our show today. All right. So I will allow you to go first, Connor, with the 23rd pick in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft. The Philadelphia Eagles select.
I have Blake Miller, the right tackle from Clemson, as my first pick.
Funny, with the 23rd pick in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft, I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Blake Miller, offensive tackle, Clemson. He's 6'6", 315. He was a 4-year starter, had 54 starts, close to 4,000 snaps, really good in the running game. And the Eagles have to start preparing for life after Lane Johnson. We know he'll be back this year, but beyond that, who knows? He could be 2 years, 3 years, who knows? I'd also think that Miller may have the ability to slide in at right guard for the time being. I don't know how they're going to feel about we don't know how Chris Cooper, or whatever heck his name is, and the Eagles are going to feel about Tyler Steen. Just by eye test, I don't know. I think somebody on our last show said that he was like the 14th ranked right guard in football, but eye test, he didn't look that good. And I think Blake Miller will be able to help in the running game, especially, and that's where Mekhi Becton 2 years ago was really good in the running game. So I already was wrong on the first pick. I didn't think we were going to have any similar, and we both have the Eagles taking Blake Miller in round 1. All right, so let's move to round 2. The Eagles have the 54th pick, and I will go first. I have the Eagles selecting Malachi Lawrence, the edge from UCF. Last year, he had 7 sacks. He had 11 tackles for loss. He's 6'4", 247, has lateral quickness, has a deep pass rush arsenal. The Eagles haven't addressed at the edge position, and they brought in Ebiketie and they another person I forget, but on 1-year deals. And I think that we don't know how they really feel about Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith hasn't put together a full healthy season, and he has to. But I do think the Eagles are definitely going to address the edge position in the draft. So with the second pick, I have them taking Malachi Lawrence.
Yeah, like I said on our needs episode last week, I really think that they're going to address the edge position through another move. It wouldn't be free agency. I feel like at this point it's probably going to happen via the trade. But for me, I continuously went back to this guy and in my mock drafts, and I'm going with tight end from Vanderbilt, Eli Stowers. And I did make a post today that there's a major preface to this, because obviously there was a reporting that came out today that there's a lot of teams viewing him as a wide receiver. Eli Stowers, to me, I know there's a lot of people who felt he could come in and just be the outright replacement to Dallas Goedert. That's not what I believe. I think you draft Eli Stowers for the weapon that he can be. He has a uber athletic, huge catch radius. He's a natural pass catcher. He's like a wide receiver from a pass catching standpoint, but you don't just get all around tight ends that just fall off and grow on trees. And so, where you're potentially going towards, and the league in general is going towards more 2 tight end sets and stuff, I feel like Eli Stowers can be a clear weapon on a significant majority of the time. I don't think he has much of a ceiling as a blocker. I don't think he has much of a floor as a blocker. And further down, as a kind of preview to my draft, I do have another tight end being drafted to kind of complement Stowers. But in the interim, obviously they have Johnny Mund. They have some other players in the building who are also going to help with that. So I don't think Stowers is an outright replacement for Goddard, 1-for-1, going to be able to play 85-90% of snaps like Dallas Goedert. But I think you can't deny the weaponry that he is going to bring into the building.
Yeah, they definitely do have to address the linebacker position, tight end position. I actually do have them taking two tight ends too later on. So we'll see if we have any similar ones. All right, let's move to round 3. They have the 68th pick. Who do you have the Eagles taking, Connor, with the first of their 2 third-rounders?
I have the Eagles taking safety from South Carolina, Jalen Kilgore. Here, this feels like the spot for safety, but I mean, it's really hard to tell because a lot of 30 visits have come out for Howie Roseman, and he seems to be looking at like a project nickel corner that could be a nickel corner depth option, but also potentially play safety. I think there was 2 cornerbacks that were picked that they met with that kind of fit that mold. So I don't know if they would actually go safety here because I don't think that they see it as much of a need as the rest of the fan base sees it as being a need. But Kilgore, I think, complements Andrew Makuba extremely well. He's very physical. He's got impressive ball production. So he could be a pretty effective safety for the Philadelphia Eagles and complement Makuba, where Makuba can play kind of back. Kilgore can kind of play closer to the line of scrimmage and be a physical player up front and a versatile player up front for this defense.
I honestly think Makuba is one of the starting safeties, and I think the other starting safety is not on the roster yet, and I think he's going to be somebody that Howie trades for. I don't know when. They will address bringing in another safety in the draft, but I do think the other starter is somebody that is on the they're going to get through trade. With my third round pick, with the 68th overall choice in the third round of the 2026 NFL Draft, I have the Philadelphia Eagles taking Keith Abney II, cornerback from Arizona State. He's 5'11", 190. He's a consistent tackler. They are going to dress corner because Tariq Woolen is only here on a one-year deal. And let's be real, the way the Eagles have gone, they've kind of gone out and hired quote-unquote mercenaries. And when they bring these guys in, that are on one-year deals, they most likely won't bring them back. And for Tariq Woolen, if he's good, he's going to get a contract elsewhere. They'll get a comp pick. If he's bad, they won't bring him back. So I think by drafting Keith Abney II, he can kind of learn under Woolen. He's only 5'11", 190, so he's not the athletic specimen that Woolen is, but I think he can, come in, learn, the NFL life, and then potentially become CB2 if Woolen leaves after the 2026 season. So with the 68th pick, Connor, I had the Eagles taking Keith Abney II. Rena, thank you for joining us. She says Miller, safe pick, was a solid OT, but won't play for 2 years and never be at Lane's level. Steen will be re-signed, was our best O-lineman last year. I mean, he's here anyway because he's gonna, fulfill his rookie contract. I don't know if he's gonna be here beyond that. Again, I look at the eye test. I still don't. I mean, the entire offensive line wasn't good, but I don't think he was good either. And then Malachi Lawrence, great fit for a outside linebacker and edge, and that's why I took him in the second round. All right, going to pick number 98 in the third round, I have the Philadelphia Eagles taking Max Clare, tight end out of Ohio State, 6'4", 240. He's an instinctive receiving threat, and he's a versatile blocker. Now, again, he's not going to come in to replace Dallas Goedert. He definitely has to work on the overall tight end game, but he could be somebody that can kind of build and be part of a tight end trio. I think beyond 2026, going to 2027 and beyond, you're going to have maybe 3 tight ends that do 3 different things. And that might be where the Eagles decide to go, unless they're able to get a Kenyon Sadiq or get a tight end of the caliber that can, like Goddard in his early days, could block, catch, do everything. They might try to get 2 or 3 tight ends that can do one thing, specialize in one thing, and then use them as a group. So who do you have in the third round, Connor?
For me, I have them taking Tennessee edge Joshua Josephs. I think he's got a pretty fair athletic profile. At this point, I got to a point where the top edges were kind of gone. Then the middle falls off quite a bit. And then obviously the very bottom is not overly impressive. So eventually it feels like they're good.
He went with an edge rusher from Tennessee. They are definitely going to prioritize drafting edge linemen. That's what the Eagles do. So they're definitely going to prioritize that in the draft. It wouldn't shock me if they took multiple edges. We have Jalix Hunt, we have Nolan Smith, Ebiketie, but they don't have any long-term plans. And unless they decide to trade for a Max Crosby or Jonathan Grenard, we don't know what the outlook is at the edge position 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. We know that they're talking with Minnesota, and potentially that could be a draft week type of trade to get Jonathan Grenard. We're unsure of that, but if that doesn't, and again, because our mock draft doesn't include trades, we're going to assume that they haven't made a move for an edge rusher. So if you want to continue with your pick, the information that you had, Connor, for who you took with the 98th pick.
Sorry, trying to get myself in here. Yeah, for Joshua Joseph, so it was just kind of the need was there, the athletic profile fit. He was fairly productive in college. I think he can come in and be a productive edge rusher at the NFL level, if even at a rotational level. But like you said, we really need to see a full healthy season from Nolan Smith and see, is Nolan Smith worth paying out the contract extension that he's going to be due very soon, and the Eagles are going to have to make that decision on Nolan Smith. So having a productive athletic edge rusher who can start to develop at the NFL level by coming in behind some guys that he doesn't have to usurp right away would probably be a benefit for Joshua Josephs.
We have Marina saying that Kilgore's a great def at DB, doesn't fit Vic's safety type. We mentioned it last week, Vic's not going to be the defensive coordinator in 2027. So drafting defensive players is going to be really hard for Howie Roseman this year, because you obviously want players that Vic likes, but who's the defensive coordinator in 2027? What defense are we running in 2027? So it will be difficult, and it will be interesting to see how Howie goes about drafting any defensive players that he brings in. All right, let's go to round 4, Connor, with the 114th pick in the 2026 NFL draft. You have the Philadelphia Eagles taken
Carson Beck, quarterback from Miami. I think that this is where I often had the Philadelphia Eagles looking at the quarterback position, and I do think that it's going to be interesting to see how the quarterbacks kind of fall and what happens at the quarterback position. But to me, Carson Beck just fits like the safe type of guy that you can bring in, and he can probably maybe beat out Andy Dalton, maybe become your emergency third quarterback. But this is where I really started to debate between him and Drew Allar. And it's, do you want the toolsy guy like Drew Allar who has potential, or do you want Carson Beck, the guarantee hit?
I will. Kind of looking into mine. I do have them taking a quarterback later. It's neither. I don't like Drew Allar, by the way. Then again, that could be my hatred for Penn State, but we will see. Adams Exploits, thanks for joining us. All right. So in the 4th round, I had with the 114th pick, I went tight end. I went back-to-back tight ends. The Eagles taking Michael Trigg, tight end from Baylor, 6'3", 250. Last year he had 50 catches, 644 yards, 6 touchdowns, all career highs for him. And again, I think he's different than Max Clare, and this is how I think Howie is going to build the tight end room. Everybody's going to be different. So I think that they are going to double up. Dallas Goedert will be a tight end this year. And beyond that, I should say Dallas Goedert is guaranteed to be on the team next year. And beyond that, Johnny Munt's not guaranteed. Grant Calcaterra is not guaranteed. So we'll see. But I do have the Eagles taking 2 tight ends, and I went with Michael Trigg. All right. Let's go with their next pick in the 4th round at 100.
Interesting pick.
Pick 137. I have the Eagles taking wide receiver Malik Benson out of Oregon. He's got speed. He ran a 4.37. He's 6 feet, 189 pounds. Last year had 43 catches, 719 yards, 7 touchdowns. So he's a big play waiting to happen, close to 20 yards per catch. This again is not an indictment on if AJ is being traded or not. I still don't think AJ is being traded. I think he's going to be on the roster. But like at wide receiver 3, they have Hollywood Brown. You have Elijah Moore. But they're also all in 1-year deals. You can bring this guy in, kind of learn under the vets, and maybe he can become wide receiver 3, in 2027. So I'm Malik Benson from Oregon with the 137th pick.
Yeah, I mean, I like the logic. I mean, I know like one of our favorite Philadelphia reporters, ESP, was saying today that if they took a first-round wide receiver, then obviously A.J. Brown's out of the building. But we've been struggling at the wide receiver 3 position and trying to figure that out for years now. It's just constantly a revolving door of guys, high-end draft picks who just didn't prove it elsewhere, like Jahan Dotson, or one-year deals like we're seeing with Hollywood Brown and Elijah Moore this year. So I like the pick, and I don't think that any number of wide receivers picked or wherever they're picked is an indictment on where they're going with A.J. Brown. For me, at the 137th pick, I have Tacario Davis, cornerback from Washington. I kind of made this pick before it started to set in all these top 30 visits that they were doing with like these big nickel guys who might move out to safety position. So I don't feel as comfortable with this pick as I did, 24 hours ago. Because a lot seems to be changing in the mindset of Howie Roseman and who he's visiting from a top 30 perspective. There's generally lots of insight that you can garner from the types of players that he meets with at those top 30 visits. But he's a physical outside cornerback. He fills your need at CB3. Doesn't need to fill it right away, but would fill the need at CB3 eventually. He's physical. He's competitive. He can play some press man. He can be right up on the line of scrimmage. May not work as well in a zone scheme. You might have to be a little more unique with him in a zone scheme to allow him to get up on the line of scrimmage and do what he does best against some of these guys. So he had a really good combine, very athletic. There's the need at cornerback CB3 for the future, if not for this year. And a lot of moves by being made in these mock drafts, in my opinion, mine and yours, is clearly that Howie Roseman has to start preparing for the future and preparing for when certain people aren't in the building anymore, whether that be A.J. Brown, whether that be Rick Woolen, whether that be Lane Johnson. I feel like this is a lot of a forward-thinking draft for Howie Roseman.
Yeah, he definitely is going to be. Adam's expert, I agree with. They should have kept Evan over Elliott Shore-Parks. He's such a loser. I can't stand him. He's a hot take artist, and he's an idiot. All right, let's move to round number 5 with the 153rd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Connor, you have the Philadelphia Eagles taken.
This is where I go wide receiver, and I have them taking Dejon Stribling, Ole Miss wide receiver. He's a really large outside X receiver. He's had decent scoring, decent metrics as far as athleticism goes. I think that he steps into the wide receiver 3 role, or can compete for the wide receiver 3 role a little bit right away. He's got size, he's got speed, he's got a little bit of things that are coming out of, like, Hollywood Brown doesn't have the size, but he has the speed. So he'll be intriguing, and he's got great blocking capabilities. That's a big thing. We don't really have a great blocking wide receiver, and we've seen in prior seasons that we have really sorely missed having a blocking wide receiver in the building, and Stribling kind of brings that capability back into the Philadelphia Eagles locker room. I mean, it depends how they see Johnny Wilson too. Do they continue to view Johnny Wilson in a reliable way, or do they draft a guy who could take over for Johnny Wilson that they might be more confident in?
Yeah, so they're definitely probably going to bring in receivers like they usually do. They like to target. There are specific positions that they like to target in the draft, and I think receiver is one of them. With the 153rd pick, 2026 NFL Draft, I have the Philadelphia Eagles taken Taylon Green, quarterback from Arkansas. He's an athletic freak. And look, he's really raw. He has stuff to work on: field vision, accuracy, risk conversion. So he's not going to have to come in and play, obviously, right away. He can learn from Jalen Hurts. He can learn from Tanner McKee if he's here. He can learn from Andy Dalton. But just that, his athletic ability, they might be able to find something that they can use him for down the road. And I think that he could potentially fit the system that could run. But again, this is a project type of quarterback that that they would be drafting. But with his intangibles, what he can do out on the field, we saw what he did at the combine. Why not give it a shot, right? So I have Taylon Green being drafted by the Eagles.
I actually had Taylon Green in one of my 3 mock drafts when I did my 3 mock drafts, and kind of lined it out from there. I do like it. The intangibles are great. I just don't know if the Eagles are going to go, because with Tanner McKee potentially maybe being traded, being a departure piece, and then bringing in another quarterback, do they really want a major project and have Dalton be the backup? Or do they want to go? That's why I was kind of weighing the Taylon Green and Carson Beck.
Can be the backup, and because I don't anticipate Jalen getting hurt. if you're anticipating Jalen getting hurt, okay, potentially, but like I think Taylor Green can be the third quarterback. Andy Dalton has started a bunch of games in the NFL. He's won games in the NFL. And like in this offense, I think the key is going to be getting the ball out quick. And I think that's what Andy Dalton can do if he had to go in there. Now, obviously for long stretches, he's not going to go out there and win a bunch of games for you. But I think he would be fine in a pinch where if he needs to go out there for a game. So that's why I went with Taylor Green. And again, the athletic ability that he has, like just give it a try. You never know.
That was the biggest reason I kind of wanted to keep him on my radar too, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles went there. He is very Jalen Hurts-esque in like the athletic ability and some of the capabilities that he brings there. There's a lot. He's raw, like you said. There's a lot of work to do, whereas with Carson Beck, there isn't. I'm catching a bit of heat over in our chat about the Carson Beck pick, understandably, but I mean, I think, you can sit there and be like, well, these quarterbacks suck. This draft for quarterbacks sucks. There's going to be quarterbacks drafted at spots that people probably aren't going to like and aren't going to be happy with. I mean, I know Peter Schrager dropped his mock draft and had Ty Simpson fallen out of the first round, but there's still talk that Ty Simpson could be taken in the first round. Like, you just don't know.
Quarterbacks always get overdrafted.
Exactly. And that's the reality. Like, you can sit there and be like, Carson Beck's a practice squad at best. So is Taylor Green. So is Drew Allar. So is most of the quarterbacks. If you're bringing one of these guys in to be your backup, you're probably going to be in some trouble. But Adam's Exploit says, what would
you guys
want for McKee? A third
second round pick. Second.
I don't think you're getting a 2.
It's fine. I'm fine with keeping him. But I mean, again, we were how he was able to trade because of injury, and again, just because of injury, he was able to trade Sam Bradford for a first. So I think what really hurt was when McKee started that game against Washington, he looked terrible. And I get it, he was playing with backups, but he just didn't look like he had command of the offense and just didn't look good. So that kind of hurt. But again, I mean, if I'm trading Tanner McKee, I'm only trading him for 2.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it. Like, just like I just said here, I don't think you can rely on the majority of the quarterbacks in this draft to be your backup. So Tanner McKee's a reliable backup. He's a great backup. He's a guy that you can trust to hold the fort down if somebody is going to, especially if you can, if you're going in for somebody who's hurt only for a few weeks, he's someone you can rely on. And with the number ones, like you said, could probably do a lot more than what he did with the Philadelphia Eagles backups and third stringers. So kind of, I guess, in making and what we're saying about most of these guys being the emergency third quarterback, it's clear Tanner McKee, in theory, should fetch you a 2. I'd be happy with a 3 as well. But
if he was in this draft, where would he be ranked among the quarterbacks? Is he?
To me, it's a little unfair to rank him without ranking him as a prospect coming out. It feels fair if you're ranking him as a prospect and them as prospects coming out. Obviously, Ian, like Ty Simpson's only had 15 starts in the NFL. Carson Beck's been in the college football landscape for 5 years? Taylor Green's got all the tools in the world, but what's he actually going to end up doing? Or is he going to be able to become anything at the NFL level? I mean, you would definitely take a Tanner McKee type in the second or third round. I mean, I'd probably, like you said, QBs get drafted high. He'd probably go as a second in this because I think in the year he was drafted, he was a 5th round?
Something like that.
Yeah, so easily you can bump him up a couple rounds from whatever he was originally drafted and the draft class that he came in with. So I know Marina Sands is going after all of our picks as practice squad guys, but that maybe speaks to the draft class, and you're going to have to take some shots. You're going to have to go with some guys who were high production guys at the college football level, or you're going to have to go with guys who have tools, some intangibles that you think you can develop to a very reliable or very strong NFL player.
All right, let's go with the second, 5th round pick in this draft. At pick number 178, I have the Eagles taking Deshaun Singleton, safety from Nebraska. 6'2", 205, had 70 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups last year. He does have downsides. He does miss tackles. So he's going to have to work on that. But I still am of the belief that the other starting safety for the Eagles is not on the roster because he's going to be traded for. It's going to be Drew Makuba and somebody, whoever they trade for. I don't know when that will happen, but I don't know, unless you're able to get a Caleb Downs or the Oregon safety or the Toledo safety. If you're able to get them, who could probably come in and be starters almost immediately, then sure. But if not, this is kind of just a depth piece, somebody that could potentially help on special teams, and somebody that you can work with, and maybe in 2 or 3 years could be a starter on the defense. But I'm going with Deshaun Singleton from Nebraska.
You tell yourself, no one wants your college-era band tees. But on Depop, people are searching for exactly what you've got. You once paid a small fortune for them at merch stands. Now, a teenager who calls them vintage will offer that same small fortune back. Sell them easily on Depop. Just snap a few photos and we'll take care of the rest. Who knew your questionable music taste would be a money-making machine? Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
K-pop Demon Hunters, Haja Boys Breakfast Meal and Huntrix Meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
You there, Connor?
All right, for my pick, this is where I took the second tight end on my list, and I went Joe Royer, Cincinnati tight end. Royer to me is a really good developmental tight end who has blocking ability, has more of a blocking ceiling than Eli Stowers has, someone who can complement beyond the field when you need him to be on the field. He's got great receiving capabilities. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do at tight end. Like you said, we both have them taking 2 tight ends. We think that it's necessary. They did bring in Johnny Munn. They do have the guys already in the building. They brought Goddard back, but we have to remember the majority of these guys are on 1-year deals now, or guys who have been consistent practice squad guys for the Philadelphia Eagles. So to me, going tight end, double dipping at tight end this draft starts to build the room for the future, because right now the room for the future is looking really bleak, and I think Royer brings a nice complementary game. I also frequently had Nate Borkercher, I think his name was, and he's another guy like the second tight end off the board for the Eagles is going to be a guy that has to have strong blocking capabilities, and in my draft to complement Eli Stowers. And then you have 2 hopefully extremely reliable tight ends that can be interchanged in 1 tight end and 2 tight end sets where necessary. So that's where I went with pick 178.
Yep, and again, that's how they're going to build the tight end room. So unlike the previous years where all the money was on the offense, it's going to start shifting to the defense. So you're going to have to get, cost-controlled players on the offensive side of the ball, and that's where I think a lot of the draft picks over the next couple of years are going to take place. And with their final draft in the 2026 NFL draft, which is in round 6, pick 197, again, we know how he's going to do like 17 trades during the draft. We did not include trades in our draft. Connor, who do you have the Philadelphia Eagles taking?
This is where I finally moved into the interior of the offensive line, and I took Anez Cooper, right guard, out of Miami. He's played through high school. He played center, he played guard, he played tackle. He ended up settling at right guard. So you know that he has the versatility. He can probably be like a swing guard for you. We don't necessarily know where Eagles are going to go as far as the offensive line goes, because we do have a lot of guys in the building that were drafted or acquired for the Nick Sirianni system. But what's the Sean Mannion system going to be like, and how do they view the offensive line room, and what do they want to do at the offensive line position? To me, this feels like a good move to at least pad depth, create some competition at right guard, pad depth at right guard, left guard. I guess in a real pinch, you could put him in at center, but we do have a couple guys who I think will be competing for that center job who are more exclusively centers, like Drew Kendall, who will compete for exclusively a center depth role, or trying to maybe, if Cam Jurgens moves somewhere, take over Cam Jurgens' spot there. there's athletic limitations to Cooper, but I mean, at pick 197, you're going for a guy who's either got some athletic capabilities or this feels like usually with the spot where Howie Roseman would go with some versatility and open up some flexibility and create some competition. And this could also be, I could see this late in the draft, maybe one of those cornerbacks that he really likes, a big nickel cornerback that they could use at the safety position. Because like I said earlier in the episode, it really feels like that is the direction that Howie Roseman is going based on his top 30 visits, is just pad in that safety room with nickel cornerbacks who can move back to safety in a pinch and just be versatile pieces to your defense until he has to do something more at safety, I suppose would be the logic. I mean, it's really quite infuriating to try to understand what he's doing at safety and where he wants to go at the safety position.
Yeah, because apparently Michael Carter could be a guy that has the shot there. Obviously, Makuba and Epps as well. So they definitely have to figure that safety position out. With the 197th pick in round 6, I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Dante Corleone, defensive tackle from Cincinnati. He's 6'1", 335. He provides good gap control, power absorption. He's a nose tackle, and they don't really, besides Jordan Davis right now, they don't have another one. I mean, I guess Maro Jomo could do it a little bit, but he's also, I think might be the last year of his deal. And who knows if they're going to bring him back with, they paid Davis, they're going to pay Carter. Obviously you have to pay DeJean, they have to pay Mitchell, maybe Hunt, maybe there's a bunch of guys that they have to pay. And I don't know, I would like Ojomo to be back. Obviously he's really good, but, I mean, we saw what Milton Williams got paid and Ojomo was really good last year. And I don't anticipate him taking a step back. So they'll bring in another defensive tackle just to compete, provide depth. Hopefully Ty Robinson shows more promise this year. We were all excited when they took him last year and he couldn't get on the field. So we'll see if he's put in the work this off season and what he does in training camp. And hopefully he's able to get on the field and help the defense out when needed.
I like it. I mean, I wanted to go defensive line, but the board never really felt right for me because I agree with you. There's not a ton of depth there. If they move to a 4-3, they're not going to need it necessarily a ton of depth. But for now, we have to assume, it would be helpful to have another one in the building and to create competition and be prepared if anything happens to Davis. And we've seen the injury history with Jalen Carter as well rear its ugly head at times. So you kind of want to have some depth and some options there, even if you're in a 4-3. It's a good pick. At that point, you just kind of go to try and fill a need, create some competition in the building. I mean, obviously, this late in the draft, these are the types of picks where Howie's frequently moving backwards and amassing further draft capital, like pick 178 and 197. I don't anticipate Howie Roseman making either of those picks.
And the 2027 draft should potentially be better. So, he may want to accumulate more picks for next year. All right. So my 9 picks in the first round, I had Blake Miller. Second round, Malachi Lawrence. Third round, Keith Abney and Max Clare. Fourth round, Michael Trigg and Malik Benson. Fifth round, Taylon Green and Deshaun Singleton. And in the sixth round, Dante Corleone.
And for me, my picks were Blake Miller, Eli Stowers, Jalen Kilgore, Joshua Josephs at 98, Carson Beck at 114, Takario Davis at 137, Dejon Stribling at 153, Joe Royer at 178, and Inez Cooper at 197.
All right, so before we finish off, let's say how we were to make a trade in the first round, trade up, trade back, whatever. Let's go trade up. What player would have to be dropping for you to be like, oh, Howie needs to make this move and go get him now? Who is the player? What position?
I feel like it's going to be a tackle. But if an offensive tackle or even an interior offensive lineman like the one out of Penn State, Iona, if one of them starts to fall, I would not be surprised if he considered the move up. I know that there's talk about some wide receivers sliding too. I just don't know if Howie would trade up. I think he'd rather watch the slide or, maybe make like the Jalen Carter move where he only moved up a couple of picks. Adam's Exploit says Kenyon Sadiq. I mean, I think you get a very similar player to Kenyon Sadiq in Eli Stowers if you wait till pick 54. If you're just patient, Sadiq and Stores both don't have very legitimate blocking floors or ceilings. They're not, it's not that they're not willing, they're just not good blockers. I just don't see with their frames and their sizes that they're ever going to fill out in a way that they're going to be able to match up and be reliable blockers on the offensive line. So, I mean, to me, I think it's going to have to be an offensive lineman, because I think he's going to really be thinking about, if I don't have to develop Lane Johnson's future replace, and that's a bonus. If I can just kick him into right guard, have him compete for right guard, and then kick out the right tackle if Lane Johnson gets hurt at any point, or if Lane Johnson decides at the end of this year, this is the end, then, similar to what we said about Mekhi Becton, there's some value in being able to play beside the guy that you're going to take over from and learn from him and practice with him and see what he does. So I think if there's the opportunity to get your right tackle of the future, because they're starting to fall, would be it, like Caden Proctor even. I know he's a left tackle, but there's a lot of talk about him moving over to right tackle and being fully capable of moving to right tackles. Yeah, I got to go with, it's probably going to be a tackle.
So this guy's never going to drop, and if he did, I would calling. I want Caleb Downs. Love Caleb Downs.
He's not going.
I loved him when he was at Alabama. He was obviously really good at Ohio State. I know that there were reports that he had knee issues or whatever, but if people were to pass him up and he hit 13, 14, I'm calling whoever it is, and I'm trying to get Caleb Downs, because he'd be a 10-year plus starter in our secondary at safety.
%.
He's one of my favorite players in this entire draft. So, I mean, again, he's going to go top 7 probably, but if something happened and a picture of him in a smoke mask or whatever came out and he started dropping, I'm doing everything in my power, if I'm Howie Roseman, to get Caleb Downs.
I agree. There's some really, at the top, there's some truly elite talent that obviously I would love to have, but there's a good chunk of guys who should not fall out of that top 10, because they're the surest thing, the very small, lucky group of blue chip prospects that are coming out of this draft class. I mean, Caleb Downs would definitely be one of those guys who's a blue chip prospect. Like you said, you're going to look back 10 years from now, and he's easily going to be a top 5, top 10 safety in the NFL.
It's going to suck to see him in a Washington uniform or a Giants uniform. You're going to hate every second of it. Final question. If Howie were to make a trade for a current NFL player, somebody that's on another roster that he can bring in here, who do you think it would be? Or what position do you think it would be that Howie would make the move? And it has to probably be like a first or second round, like something you have to trade a first or second round.
Ooh, for me, it would have to be edge. I mean, there's probably...
Do you have any names? I was like, when you froze, I mentioned Jonathan Grenard, but I don't think he's going to take a second round pick. I think that's going to be a third or fourth round,
because
or fourth
you
round
have to
condition.
You have to give him a contract. He wants a contract extension. That's part of the holdup in Minnesota and why he wants out of Minnesota. So obviously you would expect, we'll do a 3 and a 5 or something, and they give us Grenard and 6 or 7, because Howie always gets a pick thrown in their deal. Something like that would make sense for Grenard. And I mean, I've seen the Max Crosby mock trade out there where it's like Nolan Smith, a 1 and a 2. I think that's too rich. I think it became quite abundantly clear the only team willing to give up 2 firsts, even maybe 1 first, was the Baltimore Ravens, and that's why it happened with the Baltimore Ravens. But I guess I would have to go with Max Crosby. I wouldn't give up a 1 for Max Crosby, but I would absolutely give up a 2. And if Nolan Smith entered the discussion, you save yourself a Nolan Smith contract and take on the contract for Max Crosby. So I'd go I'd probably consider a 2 in Nolan Smith for Max Crosby if that was feasible, but I would not go so far as a 1 in Smith or even a 1 and a 2. I think that mock trade's rich for Crosby, especially given everything that has since transpired.
It's so hard when it comes to Crosby, because he's guaranteed, I think, $60 million over the next couple of years. You've already paid Davis. You want to pay Carter. That's a lot of money on that defensive line.
Think about what you're going to have to pay to, like, look at Jalen Phillips and what he got. Think about what you're going to have to pay at the edge position anyways. Like, next year, as the edge position gets even richer contracts, and you have to think about Nolan Smith extension.
If you trade for Crosby, he's going to want a new contract, so it might be more that you're giving him. Again, and you've already paid Davis, you're going to have to pay Carter. Again,
we know the shift is coming.
But
we know the financial shift
line.
is coming. It is. It is. But I mean, if you think about 3-4-4-3, those three guys fit that line for as long as you need them to fit either scheme. They're going to work and they're going to produce solid numbers for you. I get it.
Don't want that to affect keeping Quignon and Cooper too. Like that's the other part.
Of course, that's another issue. I mean, the only other spot I would look is tight end, but it would be like a really unsexy third or fourth round move for like Michael Mayer or an available tight end who had high draft capital that you can do something with and can be on your roster for years to come.
So my position is safety, and I'm thinking Jesse Bates or Budda Baker. I don't know if you have to give up a 2 for Budda Baker. You might be able to do a 3. You never know. Jesse Bates, you probably have to give up a 2 for him. So I'm looking at guys like that, bringing in somebody that can just start right away. You don't have any issues with planting next to Makuba and kind of being the guy in the secondary to kind of be the voice back there. Just trying to think quickly off the top of my head. I can't really think of any other safeties that would kind of be worth it. So I'm going to go Budda Baker, Jesse Bates, somebody of that ilk that the Eagles could potentially trade for.
I mean, I love it. I would love to shore up safety. I just, like I said last week, like I said this week, in between, cutting in and out, safety just is more of a need from a fan and media perspective than it is, I think, in Howie Roseman's mind. And I just don't think he's going to do it. Marina Sands says Thieneman is the only trade-up player. Thieneman is a guy who would probably be there at the 13 to 15 range where you could trade up. But I don't know if I like Thieneman to the same degree as Caleb Downs. Like, I don't know if I would go to the extent. I don't think Howie would value that. Howie might value Caleb Downs if he falls there because, like we said, he's a blue chip prospect. Thieneman's not a blue chip prospect, not the type of guy that Howie's going to move up because he thinks he's going to be a humongous game changer. I do think they have a lot of confidence in Makuba when he comes back and being a very, very reliable 99% of downs defensive back for the Philadelphia Eagles, kind of like Reed Blankenship was for a while, except the good thing with Makuba, as he started to clean up his game before Sidney Brown injured him, he's more instinctual, he's more patient, he's a better, not at the start, but as he was cleaning things up, he was a better tackler, he's better in coverage, he's better on the ball. I can trust in Andrew Makuba if they have faith and believe that he can be the guy at the safety position, but it doesn't mean you can just completely ignore the safety, the second safety and the third safety and the fourth safety that you're inevitably going to need to have on the roster. I mean, we know Makuba is probably not injury prone. It was a freak accident, but I do think that they think very highly of Makuba just based on how we're seeing their approach to safety.
Yeah, and he's also still young too, and I wouldn't want to unless it was a Caleb Downs, I wouldn't want to another rookie to be starting back there with him.
Just before we wrap up, I just wanted to hit up a couple more of these comments. Adam's exploits. I'm worried about Nolan Smith. I wouldn't re-sign him. Good guy, but his injury history and playing style makes it difficult. You were kind of talking about it a little bit earlier, and especially with the edge market and how expensive the edge market is getting. I mean, if Nolan Smith suddenly is commanding, first of all, I need a fully healthy season from him. Secondly, you can franchise tag him as an outside linebacker, I think, which makes the cap hit come down significantly. Or not franchise tag. If you do franchise tag or the 5th-year option, they still have the 5th-year option that they can exercise as well. So, I mean, but I would agree with Adam's exploits. I mean, if he starts commanding $25 million plus, he hasn't, in my opinion, warranted that because he's been most effective when he's had a reliable veteran across from him. When Jalen Phillips came into the picture, granted, Nolan Smith only played 2 games and a few snaps of the third game before getting injured, but there was concern around the edge room. I remember in the episodes that we did to start the season, our review episodes of week 1 and week 2, there was a lot of noise about the edge room and concerns with it. And you expect a guy like Nolan Smith as a first-round pick to start to show something. And it's a little concerning that he needs a veteran edge presence in the building to maximize his game.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. He does play very physical too, and he's kind of, I don't want to say he's lean, but he's not like the biggest guy out there. I mean, the way he attacks pulling guard is one of my favorite things to see. That definitely can take a toll on the body for somebody that's smaller on the edge position.
And Marina Sands, I think she's mentioning this in reference to who would you trade for. She says Herbig from Pittsburgh. I don't think they're at a point where they want to move Herbig, or it would be a discussion. But obviously, any edge I would take, and I'd love it to be for a second, not a first, if it could be that way, kind of like I was mocking out a Crosby deal. But I mean, I think we're going to get stuck with a bit of more of an uninspiring, not that Grenard's totally uninspiring, but it feels less inspiring than other options that were out there at the start of the offseason, or rumors at the start of the offseason.
Yeah. So we will put a poll out on our Twitter page, I guess. We'll put our who we took in our Eagles only mock draft. If you want to vote, critique, yell at us, lambaste us, whatever it is, just, be sure to follow us on Twitter and vote and comment. We're going to be back next week, and we're going to do our full first round mock draft. Again, no trades. We'll start with somebody will go first, second, so forth, going down.
We'll start with Fernando Mendoza.
Fernando Mendoza's number 1 to the Raiders. Like, it's already set in stone. So we already have the first pick already out the way. It really starts at pick number 2 with the Jets, who are probably going to take Arvell Reese. So maybe it starts with number 3. Who knows? But we will be back next week with our first round mock draft, as we are 16 days out from the first round of the NFL draft in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. As always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJRel54. And follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're getting podcasts, at Eagles Pinpool Network. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the feedback. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for tuning in to the Kelly Green Hour.